All right, welcome everybody. We're going to let our coaches and our guests jump in here, but welcome again to Coach's Corner, doing a video review again. So happy to have everybody joining us. Feel free to answer or ask any questions in the comments there. We're always happy to address those as best we can. We've got a couple of guests tonight that were kind enough to allow us to pick apart some of their video. Yeah, so a couple of ground rules and some caveats and disclaimers as we do this. So this is a show that we do to do video review for a couple of unbelted fighters. And it's very important for people to understand that we are here to help these fighters as best we can, to find a good path forward in their fighting. You know, we all tend to approach this from a perspective of we learn more from our failures than we do our successes. And so you're going to hear us focusing on things that they are doing wrong so that we can find better ways for them to do things. This is not an effort for us to just beat somebody down, you know, because they don't know how to fight. I mean, we're all not as good as we want to be. It's definitely done in the interest of trying to help them become better fighters. And while there may be a sort of a focus on the deficiencies, that's all part of the process, but it's meant in the best, absolute best intentions. First off, we'd like to thank our guests for joining us. We have Baron Hans from the West Kingdom up in Awertha, and we have Lord Melkor from Callantyre, who've submitted some video for us to take a look at. So thank you both for joining us. Helga, is there anything? Well, first off, allow me to introduce our other coaches. Sir Helga, Duchess of the West, Knight, Pelican, yada yada. His Grace Thorfinn, also from the West Kingdom, two of the finest analysts in our sport. Very glad to have them as always. Helga, is there anything that I'm missing you want to cover?
Nope, I think you got it covered. Just remember, we're going to be a little sassy and we go from there. Interrupt us if we're not clear about something for you. Please, we're here for you guys. And you guys took the big risk of doing this publicly with us. And so thank you very, very much. Big risk, really, like risk in quotes, but we'll see what the sassy standard is tonight. And for everybody out in the audience, ask questions, get into the comments, because we'll try to address things as they come up, and take notes, you know, if you think it would be helpful.
All right. Thorfinn, you want to cover anything before we get started?
No, again, I just want to say thanks a lot, guys, for putting yourselves out there. And let's have some fun. Let's take a look at these videos.
Right on. All right. Hey, Melkor, would you like to introduce yourself very briefly?
Sure. I'm Melkor Eichmann from Callantyre. Being from Callantyre, I would not say I focus too strongly on one weapon system over another. So I'm not a glaive fighter, sword and shield fighter, anything like that. I'm a fighter. These videos, I'll be fighting sword and shield. I've been fighting for 7 years now, and that's about there is to me.
Right on. And Hans, a little introduction for you as well.
Hi, I'm Hans Schaefer. I fight up here in Awertha. Been fighting for about 8 to 10 years. I can't remember which. And I'm primarily a glaive fighter. I suck with a sword and shield. So if you ever see me with one, that means that I'm just waiting to get my ass beat.
Well, we all love the weapons depth, right? Love a good diversity of weapon systems. All right. Well, since I happen to have your videos queued up there, Hans, we're going to start with you. And give me just a second to bring this up here.
This is where we throw in the betting pool of how many technical issues we're going to have this evening to play videos.
The answer is most of them. And it's usually bandwidth, but we'll see what we get here. All right, you guys seeing that okay? I haven't started playing yet, so.
Yeah, I see it fine. This is Sir Bartram's birthday bash.
All right. Okay, so it looks like you're queued up in this first fight here, so let's go with that. And is this Sir Bartram you're fighting right here?
No, this is Sir Soren Squire. I want to say Alric.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened at the end there.
It's jumping a little bit.
A little bit. It's not too horrible. Is this you fighting Soren?
Yes.
Well, that is starting to jump around there, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah, let me slow down the speed a little bit. That sometimes seems to help. Also, I wonder if we can. All right, we'll slow it down about half speed and see if that helps at all. It's still kind of choppy.
Hmm. Good thing I did my homework and watched these beforehand.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's see if I can make the screen a little bit smaller.
I did try to cut out everything that wasn't me
Hmm.
on the advice of
Yeah, no, this is always a bandwidth problem. I'm trying to find the optimization too. I'm not finding it.
You know, Sean, one of these days you and I are going to get smart enough to test this before we start the show and see which one of us has better bandwidth for the night.
I'm gonna try to optimize for video clips. See if that happens. See if that.
Did something happen there?
There we go.
Seems a little more fluid right now. Yeah,
Yep, we're
That
good
better?
now.
way better.
That is the optimize for video. So
It seemed to have worked.
and then I just went to full speed. Is that coming across okay?
Yeah. Do you want to start the first one over too then?
Sure.
That way we can get pretty good, I think, on both.
Yeah, it's definitely better. So Hans is this guy's fighting you, Florentine. And now just
yeah, that's his primary style.
and so you ended up taking his arm before you killed him.
Yeah, it looked like that.
That's a nice cut to the leg.
Yeah, it was a nice little chop.
Little armor failure there.
Yeah, I think the thumb came out.
Yeah,
So my thumb came out and I backed off so I could fix it.
Yeah, okay, that's why I was figuring what's going on.
Yeah, kind of got yourself bound up on that one a little bit. And this is you fighting Cyrus?
Yep,
This is me fighting Sir Cyrus, yes. And there was, in the ground, you can't really see it, but there was actually like a rock that broke the ground. And that's what I was tripping over.
Oh.
No.
Well, this is you and Bertram.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is,
That was quick.
Actually, man, I just missed all of that.
He popped in a little body thrust.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, that was gut.
The cut. Yeah, you went up, cut in.
All right. Do we want to look at it? Any of that stuff?
Well, so there's a couple things that I'm saying, and like, do you want to pick one, and we can, because all of this, like, all of Hans, like, your issues are pretty consistent, and so they show up in a lot of the video, and so you can probably pick one section of video, Sean. I think we're all probably gonna see roughly the same stuff.
Probably. You want to go back?
Not the one shot that he just threw there, but yeah.
Right. Well, I think the one with Soren and then the one with Cyrus, there's a couple of things I want to point out there. So
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go back to the one with Soren. All right, Helga.
Oh man, I'm getting thrown under the bus first.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. So
Yeah.
one of the things that is actually really, really just kind of obvious right now you're fighting, and I would like to preface this with, I am not a glaive fighter. I can pick one up. I primarily fight with a glaive on the war field, which is a completely different ball of wax than fighting on the tournament field. And so I'm just going to put that, like, I kind of suck at this. But there's actually some very consistent, obvious issues that are going on right here. One, you're pre-programming your fight pretty hard. So it's very consistent to see what you're throwing when you're throwing it. It's going to be a thrust. It's going to be a body chop. If you throw that thrust, it's going to be the body chop next, which means you're probably getting some success in beating that line. It's where you get him in the leg. It's a very consistent glaive fighter shot too, because everybody chases that thrust and then they give you the line. But when you don't get it, you're not adapting to a second idea, which means that's actually a pre-programmed thing that you're doing. Second one, you have no lateral motion. So, and this goes into that adaptability. When you're not getting what you want out of that threat, all you have is backwards. So you're not adjusting the fight in a larger scope and scale at all. You're coming in, you're like, I'm gonna do this thing, and if I survive it, then I'm gonna go backwards. Almost every fight I watched. Your cornet fights, it starts showing up because you get real close to the ropes repeatedly, or you run in and stay in and get bound. Because that's the third thing. Is the other thing is all you have is forward. Once you've decided, Hail Mary, screw it, I'm going to try to survive this. And that's where you're seeing, like, when you get bound up with Soren, and there's going to be other fights where we're going to see this too.
All right, Thorfinn.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things I noticed is you don't change your hand grip very much. And so it's kind of consistently always in the same place. Also, your stance doesn't change very often. So you're only really attacking that same line. If you watch like videos of like other accomplished glaive fighters, they'll switch sides to be able to attack or defend a different way. They also the length of their grip apart changes quite a bit, and so like they can slide the weapon through instead of like when you thrust, you're actually throwing both arms forward, and so you could actually get more range. And then switch to, since the hand's already transitioning to another blow, right? If you adapt like more of a changing grip.
Or a pull cue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big thing. That's the thing I was saying about all of your thrusts are like Thorfinn was saying. All your thrusts are like you're shoving both hands forward at the same time. With the ranged weapon like that, you should definitely be using your thrust like you do with the spear, more of a pull cue type of a shot. Does that make sense?
it totally makes sense. I think I've actually been told that a few times.
Okay.
I'm failing to adapt here.
I was gonna say, well, maybe now you'll listen. So yeah, and that's the thing is when we can show you like this one right here, and on, so this is one where we get to say, unfortunately, this worked. So you use that two-arm thrust to go forward, and as Helga was saying, you know, this is totally pre-programmed. Like this is an opening sequence for you, where you're going to throw this thrust out here, and then you're gonna cut for the leg, and it seems like, you know, it seems like that is a thing that you're going to do. And, you know, for all those folks out there watching, why do we do these pre-programmed things? Because they work.
Yeah, you become adapted to doing it because you've seen some success and it becomes comfortable.
You've had success at a certain level. And you know, when you're fighting a guy like Soren and it works, then you're gonna want to kind of stick with that. But you know, that's one of the things about video review and kind of finding those bad habits, is understanding that sometimes the things that we need to break are the things that work because they work against a certain caliber of fighter. But when you get to the upper echelon of fightings, you know, you're gonna, some of these things are going to work exactly one time, and then you're hosed. So definitely need to find that adaptability and a little more creativity, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So yeah, you're doing the two-arm thrust, and again, so this leg though, I mean, you do get pretty good rotation on there coming off of that. That's a pretty good snap right there. You've got a good draw cut up to block yourself as he's coming in. But as Helga mentioned, you're going back. And as you know, as he goes down, we're going to see a lot more of that, where you're just really hesitant to establish range. And again, all of these thrusts that you're throwing at him with these two-handed thrusts, it just among other things, it impacts your targeting, right? Because when you're trying to thrust with both hands, you don't have nearly the point control that you do, because you've got one of your hands that is obstructing the angles on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So whereas if you're using it like a pull cue, among other things, it's faster.
Yeah.
It's more accurate, and you actually have better control. And something to keep in mind when we're doing that pull cue sort of thrust is, you know, if you extend that too far out, like if your backhand, if you let go with your front hand and you extend that way out there just to, you know, for the sake of getting more range, now you've just put yourself in a really, really awkward position for recovery. So, you know, you don't want to extend it out there too far, but at the same time, with what you're doing, you have a limited reach with doing the two-handed thrust the way you're doing it. And that kind of plays into the rest of this fight that you have while Soren's on his knees. Every shot you try to take just doesn't have the control to be able to get to it. And you haven't really established range. You're not really committing to the fight, honestly. And, you know, yeah, it's a dangerous proposition to get in there and find that range. But, you know, every motion he takes against you, you're backing out far more than you need to. You definitely want to maintain some range because that's the threat, right? But at some point, you know, you either got to get better point work, or you've got to step in and establish range and hit him with a blade.
Yeah, and you know what we were talking about with this, just going backwards, kind of forwards, backwards type of fight. If you were to change, you know, a step to either side would change your targets drastically that you could attack. Okay, so when you did that first leg shot, the initial leg shot, with a step that direction, you would have had a potential chance to even hit the body, and you could still peel off that direction and defend yourself. Right. So, you know, instead of going up to attack, stopping, firing, and then stepping back, you could have done more like a strafing run where you come in, attack, and off that direction. And if you go towards the shield side, you actually have the luxury of using their shield as a defense for you. Right. Their shield literally becomes your shield because they can't throw through it. Right. So you can attack and then go that direction too. And then, you know, it stops the forward backwards thing. It allows you to attack multiple angles.
Yeah, and this here, when you got your leg, you throw high, again, with that two-handed thrust, and he manages to catch that. And you're just, you're, I mean, obviously in a bad position, but with the way that he was able to catch your thrust, there's no way for you to get your blade on this to be able to cover this leg.
Yeah, if you'd had to actually switch to a different stance, where more like this type of a stance with your body towards him right here, you would have a stronger line to defend and still be able to cut. So.
And then once you're both legged, you pretty much
Yeah,
just H1 from there.
I don't think I've ever had luck with being legged.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the hard parts about that weapon system. I'll tell you one thing that may help though is, as you're sitting here, and this is as Helga had mentioned to you earlier, this is one of my pet peeves. See how your feet are sideways and on flat on the tops. Have you ever considered curling your toes under so that your toes are underneath you?
I've never thought about it, honestly.
You should try it. It gives you a better shooting platform. Because what it does is by having your toes curled under, you can actually push off on your toes to be able to get hip rotation, to be able to get better mechanics on those shots. Also with your feet the way they are, so you don't have any room to generate power to start with, and this is actually less stable for you to actually be sitting that way, which means you're going to be using a lot more of your core strength just to keep yourself up, let alone to actually be able to use that core strength to throw shots, to be able to get a shot off. Whereas if you curl your toes under and you put your feet together, you're creating a tripod, and you're just creating a more stable shooting platform to work with. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So think about it. It's something that you know, and if fighting from your knees is like, if that is a death knell for you, it sounds like something you need to do at practice.
Yeah, you can always start there. It's practice.
Yeah, just sit there and get your toes curled under you a little bit, and have some folks kind of step in on you, and you know, I mean, that's the thing about practice, right? Is that is an opportunity for you to work on something that you suck at, right?
Yep,
So,
and you can reset it and reset it and reset it and reset it.
right. You know, you get somebody like Soren or Cyrus or you know, even your knight, you know, and just have them walk in on you, right? Have them, while you're sitting on your knees, have them walk in on you a few times and see what kind of shots you have available to you. And they can do that knowing that they're helping you, and they can do it without, you know, crushing you. You know, one of the things that we're constantly talking about as far as what practice is again, it's that place where you get better at the things you suck at. And that means you need to create an environment where it is safe for you to fail. Because you're putting yourself in a compromised position to work on something that you know you're bad at. And you have the partners that you're working with create situations wherein you get to work on those things without you getting crushed. Right? That's why we're always saying, you know, stop trying to be the king of practice. Right? Stop trying to win practice. Let's give yourself some situations where you can learn how to be better at those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Helga, you got anything else you want to throw in on this?
Oh yeah, no, I actually totally do. We're gonna back up the bus real quick, but I'm gonna pile on to the fighting on your knees thing. You're a mobile creature. Our rules do not state that you are planted. Start practicing moving. And this is something that many of us forget and stop using. We only tend to go forward on our knees. A lot of high-end glaive fighters can move just as fast on their knees as they can on their feet because they practice it. So, and like getting your feet underneath you, just like Sean was talking about, and practicing moving backwards to create the range you need to survive, and then command the fight is going to be a big thing. And that's just, again, grind out the practice. Practicing on your pel too. Can you actually go back to the middle of that fight where he's got Soren leg, like right after he's got Soren leg? And this is going to be something I'm going to teach you a weird, or I'm going to talk about a weird thing that you can see in your video. It's not a weird thing. It's actually, It's a good thing to look for, but you're giving a really good demonstration of somebody that is loaded to go backwards by leaning forward. There we go. So after you leg Soren, so when you're standing, this is already a pretty present thing. And we can see this very consistently across a lot of videos for just about everybody. At some point in time, most fighters go through this. If you can see, when you are moving forward, your head is rolling forward.
Yeah.
It's because you are chasing the weight of your helmet forward. So, and you're already crunched over in your body. So you're actually already very, very hunched in this fight. So to recover, you are way heavy on your toes, loaded to go backwards because all of your weight is already forward. You are already leaning into the fight. And so you can actually see, especially once you have him legged, how you are loaded to go backwards all the time. This is excess wasted energy because basically you're slouching in the fight. So
You're
just
talking
watch this
about
real
him
quick
being
on
on his
slow
heels
motion.
right here.
What was that? Yes. Just
Yeah,
watch this
head
on slow
forward,
motion.
dude.
And one of the things is I actually want you to see where it's at so you can point it out. Because this will be something that I think you need to watch in your videos. And this is going to help you ID when you need to start standing up in the fight. This is also because you're trying to survive by putting your tool out here. We see this a lot with sword and board fighters where all of a sudden they're fighting out here and they're pushing themselves backwards, almost hunching into the fight to try to survive because they're throwing their tools forward. Even when you're stepping forward, you see how hard you're leaning on your toe to already load yourself backwards?
Yep. Yeah, because watch this. So watch your back knee as you land. You're starting to go back before you even land this. Am I right?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Can you see that?
And now after you have him legged, you're going to spend the entire time loaded to go backwards. This also is indicative of having a stance that's too deep. So when you lean forward this much into a fight, what you do is your stance lengthens out. So you get this wider and wider stance because you need a bigger and bigger base to support basically the leverage you're putting on your spine. And so when you stand up, I'm betting that your stance is going to narrow up a little bit, which is going to give you easier lateral motion, because how wide your stance is right now is actually killing your ability to add in this lateral motion that we've all been kind of harping on. We got to get you standing up straight first.
Yeah.
Once we get you straight and confident that you can generate power from here, I bet you lateral motion is going to come out because you're going to start seeing better angles and be able to move towards them.
Yeah, like head and hips are aligned over your legs, so that way it allows you to stay on the balls of your feet and move.
And see,
Just
that's a
bring it
big classic one
forward
that you
like-
just did right there. You locked out your own front knee to stop yourself from going forward.
Yeah.
That says, again, you're falling forward. You're jamming your own legs. Are your knees sore after you fight?
Just the right one.
This will contribute to this because you are constantly using it. It's like smashing the brakes and the gas pedal at the same time. So,
Well, and I'd like to kind of go back to something that Thorfinn was talking about your hand grip and position, not just on the thrust, but when you're like
Is the same the whole time.
yeah, your hands are exactly where they are on that weapon. You're not moving them at all. And as you collapse your hands as you throw a shot, you're going to be able to get more power and better range and be able to get some better angles on things as well. So if you can kind of, I mean, when I'm fighting with a glaive, I use mine's about 6'4" thereabouts. I've got about an 18-inch blade, and I'll run my hands the entire length of the blade, depending on what I want. I'm typically going to have a wider grip at range because that's how I fight spear, and I'm going to get that thrust. But yeah, you can move that top hand and anywhere along the length of the haft. I almost said shaft. All the way along the length of the haft to be able to get better, well, not even better, but different ranges, different angles, different
Yeah.
power on those shots. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, a
So
lot of times
that's-
it changes the pivot point of the weapon for you. So you don't
Yes.
have to have it always be in the same place. You could switch it to here, and then the fulcrum of it changes the blow drastically. So, and also the angle of the blow, the arc of the blade, right?
Yep.
So,
Right on. All right, Helga, is there some more on this one you want to watch, or you got that?
No, that was mostly covered. I just actually wanted him to see the leg issue going on in that, and how he's basically using his own body to counterbalance going in and out. Because that's going to be the big thing. Like you guys have pointed out the weapons use a bunch, and I'm really curious to see if it's going to be the weapons use changes his stance, or his stance changes his weapon use, because they both definitely affect each other super hard right now.
I know. All right, so this one with Cyrus, I wanted, I don't want to get too much into what he is doing right, but this is how I handle a glaive fighter, and this is something that you need to be aware of that is happening. So what he's going to do, what is your biggest threat to him to start off with?
Distance, I guess.
Range, right?
Yeah.
Your range is the only, well, it's the only advantage you have with this weapon, really. But it is a significant advantage. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to negate your single biggest advantage right off the bat. And I'm going to do that by, I'm going to put my sword out and I'm going to make contact with your glaive. And I'm not doing that I'm not trying to manipulate your weapon because you have more leverage there than I do. All I'm doing is I'm shutting down the lane. I'm just cutting off the lane so that any thrust that you have, I'm in contact with it already. And I can just push that off. And then from there, so the conventional wisdom of a sword and board fighter fighting a glaive fighter is, you get past the point, you run them down, you throw a shit ton of wraps, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to match your blade with my blade. I'm going to let you throw a thrust. I'm going to deflect that. And in one step, I'm on top of you.
yep. That's how I do it.
And I am literally going to walk you down because now I have control of your blade and I'm inside your blade. And I'm just going to walk you down. I don't have to chase you down. I can just walk you down. Right. And that's exactly what he does here. And the reason I want to point this out is this is how I handle any kind of point weapon, great sword, glaive, whatever. Right. And the better fighters are going to do this and you need to know how to handle it. And so the best way to, well, let me show you what I'm talking about first. I'm going to slow this down a bit. See how he has his blade out?
Yeah.
Right there. That's it. Like literally, this is how you get killed. And so I also want to point out when we're talking about video review and how we do this and the things we're looking for, right? It's really easy to look at the end of this and show the parts where you got hit and say, oh man, Cyrus is just fast. And, he just hit him, got close to him and hit him a lot. But this is how you got killed, right? What shots end up landing is really kind of irrelevant because this is the why. And we're more interested in the why, not the how. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So as you do this, he's got that right there. And he's not taking a hard shot at this. He's just putting it in line. And the problem that you're having here is that you let him make contact and you let him do so uncontested. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You should right here, you should be like take a shot at his sword, right?
Yep.
Just even take a shot at his blade, or pull your blade off so that he doesn't have contact on it or something. Yeah, but just don't let him do that uncontested.
Yeah, what he's doing is he's using the contact with your blade to determine where you're at. It's like
Right.
sticky hands, right? So he's staying sticky to you. So he doesn't have, as soon as you move it, and then he then has to address. Up till then, he doesn't even have to do that because he can just ride it the whole way down.
Right. And so the next part of this is as he steps in to do this, you tried to you tried to take a shot at it, but it was way too late. And you were never able to clear your weapon enough to be able to get rotation. Like you were never able to rotate your blade he was always in contact with your blade, right? So watch this. So he starts pushing this. This is where you're going to start. Now you're trying to throw a shot. And you never had room to do that. And so now as you throw, the shot you're throwing is going straight up his sword. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And once he's on top of you, you're just hosed.
Can I give you a suggestion here? Imagine instead of going backwards in that situation, you actually went at him, right? You actually, you have contact. So you could have gone straight into him and then pivoted off of his shield side and backed up that direction, allowing you to probably get a cut. He doesn't have the power now, and he's chasing you around, so he can't actually swing around at you. So if you were to go at him and then turn, right, you would have allowed that whole pass to just go by like a bull. It would have, just gone right past you instead. So, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and really you could have stepped through either side, either shield side or sword side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So again, I don't want to go over too much about what Cyrus was doing right, except that this is the best fighters are going to do this to you, and you need to know how to get around that, how to navigate that, and the gist of it is, don't let them, don't give that to them uncontested. So, right on. I think we're going to kind of skip some of the other stuff there because I think we've generally got enough stuff to work with here. So,
Do you have any questions
Helga,
for us about what we talked about?
Yeah.
What's that?
Do you have
No,
any
it's just
questions?
really interesting because I have that same thing that happened with Cyrus happens a lot. And I never thought about that as being the beginning of the end. I just
that's
always
exactly
thought of
it.
that as like contesting the space.
Yeah, because by the time it happens, like it's too late. And as you can see, with you not contesting that at all, for him it's really effortless. Like I said, we have this idea that that we need to, like I said, the conventional wisdom of finding a point weapon is like jump their shit, right? Run after them, jump their shit, throw a shit ton of wraps. And and it is just so much less work to just walk them down, right? And yeah, I do it, Thorfinn does it, Cyrus just did it to you. So that's the thing, and here's the thing, if Cyrus can do it, it can be done.
Also, a different way to
Whatever.
possibly think about this for a moment is if Cyrus can do that, he's in his range and you are already in you're in that transitional AB range for yourself, and he's in that BC range. So he's in his sweet spot and has stepped past your X. So if somebody's
Right.
doing that to you, it's no longer contested space. You have to get back to them being in the X. And so that might be a slightly different way to think about it is if I can control your weapon, I'm already in my range. And you are now not. You're going to have to work harder to hit me than I do to hit you.
So when he puts that sword on your sword, he pushes a bit, right? What happens is it makes your muscles, you instinctively want to push back because otherwise he's going to push your weapon back, which actually locks your muscles. So it makes it so you can't do as big of an action to fire. You have to stop, reload your entire thing to be able to fire. So it's like attacking your weapon in a way, like just chopping it, just by touching it like that. You're going to then, your musculature is going to freeze for a 10th of a second, which in a fight is a long time. A lot can happen. So remember that, you could have done the same thing, just a cut, bang, right to him that would have froze his weapon.
Right on. All right, Helga, you want to go get final 3 things for him to work on?
Sure. My final 3, teaching yourself to actually stand up in the fight. So we want to develop balance in the fight versus falling forward and then shoving yourself backwards. And so my sub category on that one is watch a bunch of your old video and see yourself doing it. And then on the Pel, put yourself in that bad position and try to figure out how to recover back from it, because you're not going to auto fix this overnight. This is going to be something that you are comfortable there because there is survival. And so what you want to do, put yourself in that bad position, correct out of it into a better motion. This is going to untrain it out of you real quick. Second thing, want to see some more lateral motion. This is going to go with fixing point number 1. And then I'm just going to dogpile with point number 3 because I think fixing your footwork is going to fix your ability to move your hands, but it's going to be move your hands. I just think that it's going to be feet first, then hands.
All right, Thorfinn, what you got?
Okay, so again, I'm going to say like more of a horse stance, balls of your feet type of thing, body a little more upright than forward. That's basically the same thing we were talking about earlier. This will allow you to then to be able to pivot and move everywhere independently of your opponent. You're just not back and forward. Second, again, lateral motion. You have to do that. This is going to allow you to have different angles of attack and defense. Okay, so that's going to be huge, and also change your blow selection. So that's a really big thing to learn. And I want to see you explore different guards and stances. So you do everything from the same stance and the same hand guard and even facing of your opponent. You can, by changing the angle of your body, you change everything about that too. So I would suggest going on YouTube and watching videos of like very, famous glaive fighters, and then seeing how during their fight, they change their stance 2 or 3 different times, right? I highly recommend Brand from the West. He's got some great videos, and I think we even have a couple videos in our archive on Armor on the Coach's Corner that you can go through and look at different types of training videos that we have that other people have posted. So do take advantage of what's out there and watch those people, and then try and adapt that. Keep at it though; you're doing good.
Right on. All right, so my final 3 for you. I'd say fight from your knees more often. Do some of that practice. And when you do, get your toes curled under you, so you have a better shooting platform to work under. That's Thorfinn was saying, change your hand grip more, because right now that hand grip is not moving at all. And I think when you you're first off, I think you can start with going to the Pel and learning how to do your thrust with a pull cue. Looks like Melkor's got a question.
Yeah. When you say hand grip, do you mean like where your hands are on the pole, or do you mean which hand is your leading hand?
No, where your hand is on the pole, and the fact that it's just staying exactly where it is the whole time. He's just got a death grip right on the middle of the pole, and it doesn't move at all. So I know some folks do, switch up left hand to right hand grip. Personally, I don't. That's just, I've not found a good transition for that to happen in the middle of the fight. So I tend to go with just the same grip. And mine is, I guess, left-handed. I shoot spear left hand back, because that's just what has always been natural for me. So that's the glaive grip I use as well. So, and I don't know if that's a left-handed grip or a right-handed grip, but that's what's comfortable for me, and I'm really not comfortable, doing the other side. But like I said, I'll put that forward hand anywhere from the top of the blade down to about the bottom third of the glaive, depending on what I'm doing. But you can just, especially for the thrust though, definitely got to learn how to do that pull cue thrust. Because that 2-handed thrust is just not going to do it for you. So yeah, work on your hand grip. Fight from your knees more often, and then yeah, probably the lateral motion again. Being able to get offline or passing through, evading forward, that sort of stuff. Having more forward stance instead of being prepared to go backwards. Does it make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So Hans, do you have any questions about anything we've talked about tonight? Anything that just doesn't make sense you want us to go over a little bit more?
I think I'm good. I think the biggest thing for me is sadly, getting the trust in my gauntlets. I think that's a lot of why I death grip that half right now.
Do your Pel practice, do that point work on your Pel, do it without your gauntlets. Because your gauntlets should not be impeding that shouldn't impact where your hand grip is.
Right.
There are other concerns if you don't trust your gauntlets, but where your grip is on your weapons shouldn't affect that. Helga?
Up at practice, are you guys at any point using almost basically buffer weapons when you're grinding through changing behaviors?
No, we're not.
Might not be a dumb suggestion. We have a high pain sport. We are creatures that are totally wired for survival. As much as we're little delicate, weird, upright creatures, our brain says live through this, and then we're playing an impact sport where we're hitting each other with sticks. When you're trying to change behaviors, it's actually not a bad investment to set the ego aside and walk out with a couple trainers with like literal buffer
broom
weapons
handle.
and just be like, we're going through the motions and we're making my brain recognize that this works, because now there's a lower physical cost to messing up. And when you're playing for keeps all the time, you're going to play for survival. You're not going to play to change behavior. Like, as much as you want to play change behavior, it's a lot more costly to do that when you're walking home and you can't sit down for a week. So it might be time to make a couple buffer weapons and go out there
get a
and
broom
drill
handle.
through the changes, drill through the footwork, drill through the blocks and everything else like that, because it's a lower cost. Make sure you are paying attention to your mechanics. But that would be my suggestion there, actually, is set yourself up to get through the fear or the worry about your hands, about, you know, taking that really hard body shot because you're trying something new. And I'll bet you'll turn that corner real quick, because you're going to take away the need to survive training.
Right on. Cool. Lots of good stuff. All right, Melkor, are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Now you've seen how abusive we can be. You sure you still want to do this, right?
Yes, I do.
All righty. So these videos that you sent us are mostly from Crown a couple of months ago, about a month ago.
Yeah, these are all the most recent Callantyre Crown Tournament.
All righty.
I'm just going to say that all of you guys have a good on-point kit game.
Thank you.
Just want to see this look because I couldn't tell what happened.
If I may, he threw a wrap that skipped up the flute of my helmet and across the top.
Yeah, no, I caught that one. It's just this one where he gets you. I missed it the first time. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, he threw a fake.
What I'm going to say is his squat game is too on point.
Yeah. Yeah, he threw a pump fake the offside. Bless him. I have some suggestions as where he may have gotten that. These are all best 2 out of 3, right?
Yeah, this most recent Crown Tournament was 2 out of 3. This is also a bye fight. Not that it really matters.
Looks like that hit you in the body. Come around there. Oops.
Was the wrap that got you right to the body?
Yes.
Nice editing on the video, by the way. Thanks for consolidating all that for us. Appreciate it. So I'm going to make the guess that is usually Helga's territory. I'm guessing you're about 5'7".
I was gonna say
Yep.
that.
I'm 5'6".
So you got that short people problem that Helga's going to talk about in just a minute here.
So is your shield center grip or is it strapped?
It's a center grip.
Okay.
Thorfinn's got some thoughts on that too.
Mhm.
Welcome to the video review show.
Shit's about to get real.
We're going to get all of our pet peeves.
Yeah, right.
Actually, he totally misses one of our major pet peeves because I slowed down this video so many damn times to check.
Recovery?
No, he's on blade for almost all of those weird, reachy offside headshots. Every single one is actually on blade.
Nice.
Good job.
His elbow probably doesn't thank him for it, but I like how he just gave me the face.
Yeah, there's some other things with those that are going on, but
Oh yeah.
all right. The rest of this fight happens off screen. All right, let's move up. That's Franny. Franny wiggling his ass at you.
I didn't know who he was before this fight.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. They moved to like Missouri, huh?
Yeah, and in the Ozarks. That's going to be a very different fight for you too.
It cracks me up because like you can see in the video where he's just like, I have no idea how to handle you.
Did he tell you to keep your arm?
It was flat, he said.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
How very Western of him. That was not flat. All right. This is Yim.
Vim, yeah.
Yim. Oh, did he hit body on that one?
Just above the hip.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Man, it looked like it hit square in the leg.
In the moment, it felt like my ribs about.
Yeah, it looked like it hit you square in the thigh there. So
I was about to say that the other dude's got some wickedly clean power generation. So I'm not shocked that those wraps come in hot.
yeah.
You know, he looks like if you took Squire Fabian and Squire Helga and just smashed them together, this is the fighting style that would be. This is what that fighting style would be.
All righty. So we got there. All right, Helga, you're up first.
All right.
Do you want me to go back to any of this, or you want me to stop sharing?
You can go ahead and stop sharing. We'll probably pick some up. There's some things that I want you to see in your video later, because one of the things I'm going to try to incorporate is a little bit looking at the video so you can see what I'm seeing. I'm going to say, holy crap, is that looking, that's like me when I was figuring out power generation and not having to just fling my body at everything. I'm going to tell you, you're actually strong enough to use your body in sync versus having to huck your body at them. So your power generation right now involves a stomp and a lean. It is the precursor to actually understanding and using frame weight transfer to generate clean power. But right now, to be very frank, your power generation is a little bit of a hot mess in the right direction.
Yeah.
I'm
saying, like, he's swinging for the fences on everything.
Yeah, you're swinging for the fences on everything. You are 100% committed, and you have zero plan if it doesn't land. And you can see that when that off body doesn't land, every time there's that moment where your brain is like, I'm a little shocked, and then you pull out of it because you've got a very fast hand speed because you know to move your feet to recover your hand, this is the reason why hot mess, right direction. So excuse me for being frank here. One of the things as a, yes, Sean?
So one of the other things about that, when you're all committed to the one blow, once that blow hits, it stops. Like you have dead hand, you can't recover, you can't go anywhere else until you get all the way back to your shoulder. Like you can't transition from one shot to the next, because as soon as you're putting so much into every blow that every shot you hit, and we can go back and show it to you, but every shot you hit, it stops right at the point of impact.
Well, that was going to be one of my points on that one, is because you're overcommitted. One, you have the Hail Mary of hoping you have chosen the right block, because you are actually relatively active with that shield, but right now I don't think you know what the best line is to block when you're throwing something that hard, which is the reason why at 5'6" you're getting smoked with that flat snap a lot. Because you're not actually blocking this quadrant. When you throw that offside, there is no way to block that quadrant unless you exchange tools, and your shield is too big to exchange that tool. And you're fighting with a moderately sized shield. I'm not even calling you out saying you're fighting with a big shield. You're fighting with a shield too big to commit to that shot the way you do. Especially with that lean and that stomp. And so to try to narrow it down a little bit, one of the things is I really feel that you're headed in the right direction with a lot of what you're doing. But what needs to happen is you need to actually stop being so amped and committed to every motion. You actually need to start developing a flow to your fight. You are fast enough right now that it kind of looks like you have a flow. And I'm betting you've got some people that tell you that you're right now, you're like, you transition really well or anything else like that. I'm going to tell you, you don't. Actually,
that's not something I've heard.
To the next thing, to the next thing, and deliver. And I'm like, that is me 5 years ago, right there, 100%. Like Sean can tell you, yep. And you're right on my same height. And one of the things that what I want to talk to you about and geek out on is actually connecting your body, is getting your shoulder connected to the opposite side knee, so you can let enough power go that you are going to deliver a good blow, while also being adaptable enough to move to the next block or the next step. Because right now you're like snapshots in the fight. You're also a big enough aggressor in the fight that a lot of people let you get away with shit. You get right up in their face and you can survive right there because they kind of go, fuck. And you get accidental wins due to that. You're not commanding the fight here. And so what I want to see is talking about power generation and command of the fight and looking at your opponent, because you also don't know what your opponent's loaded for, thus getting smoked with that little bit of a feint to an offside, to a flat snap, which you get hit with a couple times throughout that series of fights. That's because you don't know what threat they're presenting. And so I'd like to geek out on that, but I'm gonna let the other coaches go on that. And then I have a feeling there might be some questions on that one. If not, like, I'll show you where in the fights they'll present.
All right, Thorfinn.
Okay, so I'm just looking at these drawings I made of you. So I have a couple of questions. First, about your shield position, your starting position. Traditionally, it's what I'm going to call an unorthodox position for a heater to be in. You're using the back corner as your main defense towards your opponent. And then traditionally it's the front corner. And the reason this is important as well is besides having that edge to block and look over, it allows you to block the leg with the bottom quadrant of your shield, which is really important for that style. Okay. I understand it's a center grip, but it's still the blocks are all the same, right? The problem with this is when you're presenting that back corner as your defense, that means that the corner that you block on the bottom of your leg shots with has to travel a really long distance, and your legs are completely open to your opponent if they're right-handed to attack you. So by changing that angle to this, you're already set to block that leg shot, right? Or you like to do this kind of duck thing when you block, right? So you duck into your shot and you're already covered and you're still loaded here, right? If you're like how you're doing it, where it's like here instead of here, right? This creates this section of your helmet is completely exposed to an open attack too. Okay. So I don't know if that's something that you and your knight have worked on. Is it a style that's real common in your area? I don't know, but
it's not a particularly common style in my area, but it is something my knight and I have worked on. It is very similar to how he fights.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
Who you squire to?
I'm squire to His Majesty Lucian.
Oh, okay.
That seems to work for him.
That guy.
But yeah, so I'm just saying that, like I said, unorthodox. So I'm seeing that you're not being able to take advantage of a lot of those defenses that you would normally have in those positions. So, I mean, if it's a thing with your knight and you and the style that you're working on, it's going to be a painful road to hoe for a while, because you're going to be learning through, pain. So I don't know, but there you go. I think I was just checking in on the shield positioning. Okay, thank you.
It actually reminds me a lot of my sports heater.
Yeah, no, same size and everything, but you don't block with that back corner.
Nope. Screw that back corner. Take a step.
Yeah. All right.
All right. First off, big fan of Lucian. Your Majesty, good to see you in the comments as always. But I couldn't resist giving him a little bit of shit there. Yeah, you're on your shield position. With the thing that I'm seeing on that, very similar to what Thorfinn's talking about, is right now it looks like you were using your shield in an attempt to cover all of your head and provide the best defense for your head, and that's fine. I mean, that's lethal target, right? And you want to protect the lethal targets. What I would suggest is finding a shield position that gives you a more neutral defensive position, so that rather than trying to cover all of one thing, you'll actually expose a little bit of everything. And what this does, kind of what to Thorfinn's point, is it makes it so that you have a shorter block to all of your targets rather than a longer block down to your leg. And the way that you've got that tilted with that back corner up there, it's a fairly small shield. It's a center grip. Your legs are super exposed. That's how a couple of those shots, that one that looked like I said, that one that Vim hit looked like it hit you square in the thigh. I would not be surprised if you took that as a body shot, because I'm guessing you get hit a lot just above the hip.
I don't know. I get hit there any more than I get hit other places.
Okay.
Thinking on it, but
yeah. So it just may be one of those things that as high up as that shield is, and I fight with a fairly smaller shield, and actually mine's probably pretty close to yours. Mine is 22 by 30. And I know you guys have the convention where it's got to fit underneath your arm. With you at 5'6", that means it's probably what 18, 19 inches long.
I have really long arms, so it's big. I think it's a bit bigger than that.
It's probably closer to 30. It's probably close to 30, right?
I think so.
I guess maybe 28, right? But yeah, it's fairly short. Mine's fairly short as well. So so I understand what it's like to have that bottom point exposed. My legs are exposed, and I know it, right? And I use that. When I've got my shield in a fairly neutral position, one of the things that does is it kind of creates an embarrassment of riches for your opponent, because now it's, well, I can kind of get to his head, or I can kind of get to his leg, or I can sort of get to his arm, as opposed to, well, he's got his head covered. He's using his shield to cover all of his head. So I'll just take his leg, and, at some point that's going to be good enough. Right. So by having a more neutral position, you're going to have a shorter block to everything. Yes, Helga.
I am gonna 100% say I do not agree with Sean here.
Oh, well, how about that? Who saw that coming?
I mean, I got to keep you on your toes every so often.
I'll take it.
Being a shorter fighter and using a smaller shield, you need to dictate the target given to your opponent. And understand, this is where I was talking about seeing what they're threatening. Where I think that putting that shield in a neutral position is going to give your brain so much fuckery to keep track of, where you're like, it's kind of my head, it's kind of my leg, and you're already a super jumpy fighter. Even though you like stomp in and out, you're like, I'm guessing, checking here. I think what you need to do is pick a shield position where you're 5'6". That flat snap is almost a freebie. So guess where I start? Shield low, covering that offside leg, which they want anyways, and sticking my sword up in top. And when I'm walking into range, I'm closing that line. I'm giving them something else to then shoot for, and I know what they're possibly going to shoot for. Basically all I'm doing is I'm limiting their access points to my body or my head. And I think if you put that shield in a neutral position, you're going to give them all the access points. You actually need to be more committed to your shield position, not less committed. And you need to understand where your shield position is dictating where they're going to throw. Same with your sword position. This is very much so a very active fighting style. And I thought about running downstairs and grabbing my heater. It is 13 by 19. Strapped heater is what I dark around with. It was a present from my knight when I graduated. He said, here, you can have a real shield now. And I went, But this is where, and you can, Sean is a Duke. I am not. And so take my advice as a grain of salt. But I think that watching you fight, you're going to have a better time by committing to where you're dictating your opponent goes to. This is going to involve some development in your fight where you see what threat they're presenting and where they want to throw at you. And if you take the time and take basically the bruises to do it, guess how I know that one? You will become a much more effective fighter that is more adaptable in your fight than somebody that's trying to guess and check because you're choosing a neutral starting point.
Well, and she might not be a Duke, but she's one of the best analysts in the sport. So I'll give her that.
Well, when one breaks their shoulder and is stuck on the sidelines for 5 years.
Yeah, you gotta sit around and watch some video.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got a couple of things that you can play with there, and she may be right in that it may be too much for you. I know that's something that works for me, but right now the way you're covering your head, it is a purely defensive mindset. Mm-hmm. And if you are going to expose your leg like that, if that is going to be the thing that you intentionally expose, then you have to know that that's open, and you have to know how to capitalize on that. So to kind of break from where you are, you may actually need to expose your head, to as she was suggesting, just so you know that that is what is exposed. Right. And you're giving them, and again, when I have that neutral position, when I my legs are fairly well exposed, and when I find that somebody that targets in on that, and you can read it in their body where they're like, oh, I bet I can get his leg. Like, I bet you can, and I'll expose it even more. And now as Helga was saying, I am dictating where my opponent has targets. So a lot of good stuff there for sure. The aggression, kind of goes to the hard committed sword mechanics. There's a lot of aggression in your fight as well. Not so much in the number of blows, but in, as Helga was saying, like the amount of aggression that you're putting into the fight. Man, every time somebody says that a fighter needs to be more aggressive, it just makes my skin crawl. You don't need to be more aggressive. You need to be offensively minded. You need to have what I refer to as judicious pursuit. You need to go after the fight. You need to pursue your opponent. You need to find targets. But to me, aggression is just, you know, you're throwing either more or you're throwing harder. And in this case, your aggression comes in the form of you throwing harder. And a lot of what we're seeing as something comes in, you'll get the squat duck thing. So you're trying to make yourself smaller, and then you're coming out of that and you're using that squat to create the power in the blows that you're throwing. Does that make sense? And it's again, it's aggressive, and it's relying a lot more on power. And when you're throwing those kinds of blows, you're committing all to it, and you're like, you are banking on each one of those blows being the one. And then when it doesn't, you don't have anywhere to go from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So my recommendation on that is going to be continue to have that judicious pursuit, like where you're pursuing your opponent, you're going after them, you're putting yourself in range, because you know you're not backing down from the fights. You know, some of the stuff that we were talking about with Hans earlier, where he was kind of like everything was going backwards. You're not going backwards. You're not rushing after your opponent. And also you're not throwing, typically when we see aggression, we see people trying to throw more shots. So it's just throwing a shit ton of combos. So if I throw enough shots, something is bound to get through, right? That's what we see when we see a lot of aggression. So there's some of this that you were definitely very close to, as Helga said, you know, it's like a lot of aggression, it's like in the right direction. But I think if you can find better flow in your shots, I think it will allow you to take better advantage of the pursuit that you were already inclined for, if that makes sense. One thing I would suggest to find that kind of flow is the 1 through 6 drill that was popularized in the West by Uther and Jade. Are you familiar with that at all?
I think so. Yes.
So it's a Pelvic drill that you just basically number 6 points on the target. So it's basically head, body, leg on the sword side, head, body, leg on the shield side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what you do is you run through a sequence of blows so that you're going, so you do 1 and then 1 again, and then 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. And then you cycle through all 6 of those shots. So eventually you do 6, 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, and so on. That drill was specifically designed to teach people how to transition from any blow to any other blow. And I think that's what you're looking for on this. That's the problem you're having is, and also what you'll find by doing this, when you're doing it on the Pel, you should be doing minimal speed, minimal impact. You don't need to be throwing fast and hard. And so that's, I mean, how are you doing Pel rec right now? Are you doing full speed, full power on the Pel?
No, I try to avoid it.
All right. So speed and power don't come from throwing fast and hard. Speed comes from throwing exactly the same shot, exactly the same time, thousands and thousands of times. Speed comes, in my humble estimation, the only thing that increases hand speed is muscle memory, right? It's not fast twitch muscles, it's muscle memory. It's you know, it's just throwing the same shot over and over and over again, exactly the same way. So what's happening is you're throwing it, and you're throwing a certain frequency. When you're doing your Pel work, eventually at some points you are going to have to just kind of grip it and rip it and just let the stick fly and make sure that the mechanics are working, right? But there's often a disconnect between Pel work and live combat that generally comes from the fact that somebody else is now trying to do you bodily harm, and everything that you've been teaching your body how to do just kind of goes out the window, right? But what's happening is you're not throwing your mechanics in combat the way you do on the Pel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because when you're on the Pel and you're throwing them, you know, when you're throwing them correctly and you're focusing on throwing the mechanics correctly, you get a certain amount of bounce back. You get that flow. You can go from one shot to another shot, and then you get into combat and it's all power, and you're slamming right in there, and then you don't have any place for your stick to go, and you've lost that flow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there is that disconnect between what you're doing on the Pel and what you're doing in combat. And some of that comes from, again, it's the adrenaline and, you know, all these chemicals that are involved in, as Helga was saying earlier, the whole fight or flight instinct, right? And that's why it's important to be able to go to practice, to be able to find this stuff, work this stuff out. If are you at the same practice with Lucian?
Yes.
Right. So go to practice and just he's got a couple of drills that I do. You can run through the 2-second drill among them. That's one I'm pretty sure he should be familiar with. I think I've done that with him. Go through some of these drills and allow yourself to find the flow of your shots. Not a pattern, not a combination, just where does the stick want to go from here, right? And do that at a speed at which you don't have to worry about what somebody else is doing to you or whether or not you're getting the kill. That makes sense? That's a lot to throw at you already there. So Thorfinn?
So how do you hold your sword grip wise? Are you a tight grip person? Do you do like a loose grip from the front or the back?
I try to keep a tighter grip on the front and a looser grip on the back, but in reality, after about maybe the first or second shot, I think I kind of death grip it a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so real common. So don't worry about it. As you go, especially on your pel work, if you're going to learn this thing that Sean was talking about, where there you can feel like where the sword wants to go. When you hit in the sweet spot, which is usually about 4 to 6 inches down off the top of the blade, you'll feel like a natural recoil, like a spring bounce off of it, right? And a lot of times you can just take your sword and just tap it on the pellet and you'll feel it. The sword then helping you auto reload. So you're literally getting the energy transfer from the weapon bouncing off the target to let you flow into the next shot. If you have a tight grip, it's really hard to do that because you're kind of hammering everything, right? But if you have this kind of loose grip, and like I said, it doesn't have to be top or bottom. It can be either one. So I know great fighters that hold it like this, some hold it like this, right? But either way, if you allow yourself to have this kind of emotion in your hand while you're doing this, allows you to spring to the next attack. Right before impact, close that hand. And as soon as it hits, you let it up again, right? And then you can feel the bounce. And then you can just draw to the leg or wherever it wants to flow. But this is a really simple tool for you to find that flow, is just practice hitting it, feeling what the natural recoil of the weapon, and then kind of letting your body load it into a next shot. Okay. I know so many guys that do this, and I do it when I'm out of practice. I start doing that grip on it. I can tell because my arm starts going to sleep, right? Yeah. When you start to feel that and your forearm's getting real tired, that means you're gripping too hard. so
I've had that feeling a few times.
Yeah, be nice to your sword. Right.
It can also mean that your handle's too big.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, it can mean that too. But yeah, so I just want to say, I think when watching you, that's part of the deal. Is you're hitting so much power into that, you're not feeling that kind of ability. The sword doesn't want to move, right? So finding that natural recoil will help you out with that.
Right on. All right, Melko, you got any questions about anything we've said so far?
Oh gosh.
That was the face of so many.
Yes, I have all.
That was the face of so many, and also I'm trying to remember any of them.
Right. Well, you can always reach out to us. You can always get back to us. But is there anything that we said that doesn't make sense or you don't understand that you need us to go over again?
I think I understand everything at its. What you're saying, I understand it. It is now a matter of putting it into practice. And thank God my knight is watching this, because he will almost certainly be able to help me with this when we see each other.
Good thing it's on video, so you can just like, damn it.
And I should just watch it again.
Let's watch this damn
Absolutely.
thing.
That's why we put them up there.
When you go back to practice, we're vomited on you really hard, right? Take one of these things, work on this thing, incorporate it into your foundation, build a strong foundation of skills, and then you're going to be able to go, add another layer. So don't go next week and be like, I got to do all these things, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to focus on whatever the one thing you want to do. Okay, take that away from this, focus on one thing, build that strong foundation, and then it doesn't matter. You'll have the skill set to do whatever you need to do.
And that's why we're going to have Helga give you her top 3 things for you to work on.
I want you to play with looking. So this is going to be, we're going to go super deep end and then to simpler things. First thing, I want you to actually spend time in practice looking at your opponent and how they want to hit you. Until you can recognize that, a lot of the stuff that we're giving you isn't going to work because you're not going to be comfortable enough to play with it. You need to understand how somebody wants to punish you for what you're doing before you can actually deal with it. Second thing, we want to work on actual proper power generation. You have all the tools there. You just need to put them together. That way you can actually learn to be adaptable in your motion. So you're doing great with frame weight transfer. Like literally that squat and stomp you're doing, that is classic frame weight transfer. It's also you're overdoing it. It's like you're overcompensating for your height right now. And somebody, I'm assuming at some point, has told you you don't hit hard enough.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you're just like, fine, I'll hit you with a kitchen fucking sink. So what we want to do is actually dial back that Richter scale to where you can now manipulate how hard you can hit somebody with. And we can geek out afterwards about connecting the shoulder to the knee and like across and how that'll change how you power generate. Because what you have is you have all the tools. I just want to put them in like in order. We can geek. The third thing is this. I want you to abuse the fact that everybody wants to flat snap you. C, point A and B combined, punish them for wanting to flat snap you. But you got to learn how to do it. You got to have faith enough to do it. Also, you're going to have to understand their range. Almost every opponent you fight is gonna have better range than you do.
My younger brother is 6'4", so
I am 5'5" without shoes. I am 5'7" in my fighting boots. All my cousins are 6'4" or taller. So
such bullshit.
Take that short range, and I want you to direct where they want to hit you. And so again, this is the quadrant. This is the first quadrant that you're going to actually abuse and pay attention to, because this is the quadrant that their brain is going to key on the easiest. And again, we'll geek out a little bit after the show on that one, because I can fill books on how to start screwing with people. So those are my three. They're relatively like two high-end things and one very simple thing. We need to get your mechanics fixed.
Thorfinn?
Okay, so number one, if you and your knight are working on that defensive stance as going to be your standard stance going forward, you need to become more comfortable in that stance, right? And so what that means is I think that just sticking with it and grinding on it is going to help you out. And I think that it's going to be, because what I'm seeing is that you do kind of like you step and you kind of put a zone out there. Like, I'm going to block this area because I think that's where they're going to go. Right. And so if you're comfortable in your defense, that means you can stand there on guard and not worry about it. It allows you then to be more in the moment of the fight, allowing the fight to happen more organically than trying to allow it to be set by what you think they're going to do. And then the third thing would be working on that transition of blows, figuring out how to find your flow between blows. And then from there, when you've got that good guard you got going on now, and you got this flow, doesn't matter what they do, you're going to be right there to hit them. Okay. Thanks a lot for putting yourself out there.
no problem. I've enjoyed my time so far.
All right. So my three things for you. And again, the reason that we do this at the end for each of you guys is, like I said, we're gonna feed you. We're gonna shoot stuff like you're drinking from a fire hose, right? And we know it's a lot. And there's the reality is, you know, you just, your brain simply cannot process as much information as we're throwing at you. But we put it out there so that you hear it at some point, and as you work on these other things, one of these days something is going to pop up and go, oh, I remember Helga said this on the show. And it's going to happen when you're ready for it, right? So when we tell you to focus on these top three things that we have, that's going to be your primary focus. These are things that you can go to practice and you can work on these very specific things. Don't worry about the other stuff that you've heard. Some of it is context. So just kind of wanted to point that out. That's why we just give you three things to work on, right? And I'm gonna say, you know, what both of them had said to begin with. Power generation. The thing that I'm gonna say about this is trust your mechanics, right? You're doing the pel work, and like it's okay, do the pel work.
I'm doing my best to do the pel work.
He's kind of shaking
I
his
don't
head.
always do the pel work that I should be doing.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan of pel work. It works. Trust the stick. The power generation is there. You really do have everything you need to be able to throw a telling blow, right? You're gonna have to trust in your mechanics a little bit. Trust in that pel work. Let the stick do the work. There are ways to get around that without trying to hit harder, because right now you're trying to make yourself stronger in the middle of the fight. And I've said for the longest time, like, I don't believe in hitting harder. I just believe in hitting better. Yes, Helga.
There is nothing more satisfying than being our height and hitting somebody hard enough that they're like, fuck you. Okay.
Yeah. And you can do that with just the stick. I mean, there's only so much body mass that you have. And again, when I started doing pel work, I was like 13 years old. I didn't have body mass to put behind my stick. So I never learned to be bigger and stronger. It's just not going to work for us. So you got to use the stick, and the stick absolutely can hit hard enough. You can make it do what it needs to do to deliver a telling blow, and you don't have to make yourself be stronger when you're not. Right. So trust in the mechanics. Judicious pursuit, right? Learn how to pursue the fight without being more aggressive. Go after your opponent. Don't chase after them. Don't try to hit them harder. Don't try to hit them faster, but pursue the fight. It's something that I think you were doing fairly well. And when you combine that with a better understanding of stick mechanics, that is really going to be a benefit to you. So definitely keep up on that. And then I think related to power generation is going to be finding that flow in your from shot to shot. And that's all, like I said, those are all very much related. But I think those are the big things I have for you. So do you have any questions?
I don't think I can come up with any good questions right now. Like I'm processing and doing my best to understand in the moment. And I don't think I'm quite to the point of being able to return with a question yet.
Okay. All right. Give me just a second here.
Thorfinn hasn't given his feedback yet, right?
Oh, I thought you did. All right, Helga, you got any final thoughts for either of these guys?
Go after your deficiencies with ruthless intent. So both of you guys are at transitional phases of your fighting. And you're going to come to multiples. When we're in a transitional phase in our fighting, it very quickly turns into a plateau because we're getting enough success to make a body count without enough to push us to change. So right now, I'll tell you, throw everything out the window. Like, you've got some tools. You can always come back to those tools. Those tools are not going to disappear because you go try new things. Because I think if both of you actually sat down and played with some of the stuff that we went over today, you're going to see a very rapid change in your fight. And you're going to go back to those old tools and be like, I need 1 out of 10 of those. Okay, I'm gonna pick that one back up. And you're going to see yourself accelerate very quickly as a fighter. This is a common thing that happens. Success breeds stagnancy. So stop throwing that thrust to a leg shot. Stop squatting down so deep when you're throwing that offside, because that's going to be the big thing. And those are two very simple things that you could just make a victory condition in practice of. I'm not going to do these things at this practice, and I'm going to see what I do everywhere. Play is key to getting better. And both you guys right now, if you go back to playing, you're going to see a real quick acceleration in your fighting.
Cool. Thorfinn, you got any final thoughts?
No, you know what? I'm actually pretty good. I was thinking, I think we covered kind of everything here. One thing, like I said, I cannot stress this enough, guys. Just stick with learning your fundamentals and get those so down that at the end of the day, you'll be allowed to just like fight with jazz, right? It doesn't matter. It's whatever's happening is happening. So stick with it, and you're both looking really good. Thanks.
Right on. Likewise, I would like to say thank you to both Hans and Melchior for joining us and allowing us to kind of pick these things apart. It's always super fun when we get a chance to do this. And more importantly, we really hope that we've given you some information you guys can tangibly work on at practice, some very concrete things that you can do, give you some direction to make you better fighters. I mean, because that's what the Coach's Corner is all about, is trying to give people their best opportunity for success. And this is something that we really enjoy doing, and we really appreciate you guys putting yourself out there. We know that it can be kind of make you feel a little bit vulnerable to have honestly some of the best analysts in the world look at what you're doing, pick it apart, and say this is what you're doing wrong, and this is how you fix it. So thanks for joining us for sure. Helga, wouldn't be the same show without you. Appreciate it as always. Thorfinn, always love your input. Really appreciate it. So this Friday on the Coach's Corner, we have a really, really great episode that's coming up. We're gonna be talking about developing the competitive mindset. So that's something that we had asked about all the time. It's like how to get that kind of hunter killer mentality, and some of the things that we can do to really develop that and make that happen. So really looking forward to that. Should be same time. And we had put out another call for more input from the unbelted community. So we will be looking through some of that, and probably scheduling some stuff for maybe after the first of the year to get some more of this going on, because I know I'm having a good time doing it, and it seems hopefully it's been helpful for you guys. So anyway, everybody have a great night, and thanks for joining us on the Coach's Corner.